Hi, in this video we're going to look at character movement and making the character on the screen move with the keyboard keys, the up, down, left and right key. Now there are a number of different ways you can actually program this. I'm just going to show you one way. All I've done is created a new ActionScript 3.0 file. I've just created a little stick figure there, I've converted it to a symbol and I've given it an instance name of character_MC. I've also created an actions layer, which is where we're going to do our action script. So in my actions layer, I'm going to open up my actions panel. Now what we're going to be doing with the code is we're going to be setting up some variables, we're going to be setting up some event listeners, and we're going to be running some functions. And I'll explain each of those as we get to them. So to start with, we're going to set up 4 variables. And just as a reminder, a variable is a container that stores data. So I'm going to quickly type in my first variable and then we'll explain it. So variable, I'm going to call it up pressed, colon, and the data type is a Boolean value. Now Boolean is true or false, yes or no. Now the variable here is going to store whether or not the up key is being pressed. Is it true or is it false? Now I want to set up 3 more variables, exactly the same as the one up there, except I want one from the right key, the down key, and the left key. Okay, so I've just added in the rest of my variables. So each one of these variables is going to be listening out for is the key being pressed, yes or no. Okay, after my variables, the first thing I'm going to enter is an event listener. Now the event is going to be a keyboard event, but I'm going to be listening for anywhere on the stage. So I'm going to type in stage, period, add event listener, and I'm going to say it is a keyboard event. So open my brackets, keyboard event. And what am I listening for? Well, I'm going to put a period and I'm going to type in key underscore down. I'm listening for a key being pressed down. Comma, I need to give it a name. I'm going to call it on key press, close my brackets and end the statement. So my event listener is listening anywhere on the stage for a key being pressed down. I need to set up my function now, which will actually explain what is going to be happening. So function on key press, open my brackets, it is an event, colon, it is a keyboard event, close my brackets, colon again, there is no data return, so I'm going to type in void, and I'm going to open my brackets, press enter, close my brackets, up, enter. Now inside this function, we're going to type in the code that is going to happen when the key is being pressed. So I'm going to set up some if and else if statements, which are pretty much going to just be looking out for which key is being pressed at the moment. So is the up key being pressed? If not, is the right key being pressed? If not, is the down key, etc. So I'm going to start with if space open brackets evt for event dot key capital CODE. So if event dot keycode equals space keyboard dot up. I'm going to close my brackets. I'm going to open up another curly brace, press enter. So if the key being pressed is up, then up pressed equals true. And I'm going to end my statement and I'm going to close my curly brace. So all I'm saying here is if the keyboard key up is being pressed, then my variable up pressed, so my container up pressed, will say yes, true, it has been. Now I'm going to type in else if. So in other words, if that's not true, what's the next thing we're going to check for? Well, the next thing we're going to check for is exactly the same as the code above, except we're just going to change one little thing. So I'm just going to copy and paste. So I've got else if event keycode, instead of keyboard.up, this time it's going to be keyboard.right. and instead of up pressed, it's going to be right pressed. And I'm going to repeat that step for the next two variables as well. But before I do that, I must remember to close off my curly brace before I repeat my paste. So remember to close off your curly brace and then paste. And I just now need to change these last two. Okay, so I've copied and pasted in my last two there, and I've changed that to left and left pressed and down pressed. So my first function is complete. What I'm listening for here is when a key is being pressed down, well then we need to say that it's true in our variable. So that means that the next thing I need to listen for is when a key is released. So when a key is being pressed down, there will be movement. When the key is released, that movement will stop. So I'm going to take this line of code here and I'm going to copy and paste it. And where it says key down, I'm simply going to change that to key underscore up. And I'm going to change the name from on key press to on key release. And I need to now create another function. What I'm going to do is copy and paste this entire piece of code to save myself some time. And I just need to make a couple of little changes. The first one is I need to change the name. So instead of on key press, it's on key release. And the only thing I need to change now is everywhere it says true, I need to change this to false. Because we're now saying, well, if the key is being released, then no, this key isn't being pressed, which means false instead of true. So this piece of code is just now listening for when a key is released. The very last thing I need to do is add in one more event listener, and this event listener is going to actually create that animation effect, so the movement that will take place when the keys are being pressed. So this one I'm going to change, it's not a keyboard event anymore, I'm going to say event dot enter frame. And now if you haven't used enter frames before, enter frames are pretty much a way of doing animations in ActionScript. So I'm just going to call this animate as my name. And I need to create my last function. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of my code, type in function. The name of the event listener was animate, so function animate, open brackets, evt, colon, it's an event, so I'm going to type event in again, close my brackets, the data return type is void, and I'm going to enter down, open curly brace, enter, close curly brace, up, enter. Now what we're setting up here is the actual movement. So I'm going to type in if, open my brackets, up pressed, close my brackets. I'm then going to open up another curly brace and enter down. So if up pressed, then character underscore MC dot Y space minus equals space 5. And I'm going to put in an end statement. So what I'm saying with this function is, if the Boolean value up pressed is true, then the character is going to move 5 pixels. So if up pressed is true, the character will move 5 pixels. The minus equals means it's going to move up. And now all I need to do is repeat this for all of my axes. So I'm going to once again quickly close off with the curly brace there, and I'm going to copy and paste this code. I'm going to enter down, I'm going to paste it. I'm going to just make my small changes now. So the second one is not up pressed, the second one is right pressed. Character underscore MC dot, well, it's not the Y value anymore, we want to go right, so it's the X value. And for the X value to go right, I'm just going to simply make it plus equals 5. I'm going to enter down, and I'm going to repeat the step again and again for my last two. So I've copied and pasted the last two in, so left pressed dot x minus equals 5 and down pressed dot y plus equals 5. So the code here is simply saying if the variable up pressed is true, so if the up key is being pressed, then we're going to move 5 pixels up. If the right key is being pressed, then we're going to move 5 pixels right. When the key is released, we're going to stop because we're going to go to false. So I'm going to run this by hitting Control Enter. And when I do that, I get an error because I've just checked that and I've realized I've made a mistake. And that mistake is I haven't added my else ifs in front of these lines of code. So I'm going to quickly paste those in, and down here as well. And I'm going to hit Control Enter again. Now my character appears on the screen. If I press the up key, he moves up, left, right, down. If I hold down a key, the character will continue to move until I release the key, because that's the way we set the code up. We said if up pressed is true, then you move 5 pixels until the key is released. So we have character movement, and you can use this for platform games, for shooter games, all different types.